Hello. FilmFest DC is pleased to bring you this conversation with Ethan Payne, director of We Travel. B. Brian Foster, co-director, writer, and performer, wasn't able to join us today. Both directors of Monument are here with us, Joshua James Johnson and Tim Maupin. My name is Linda Blackaby. I'm a senior programmer for the festival. And on behalf of my curator of shorts, pleased to welcome all the filmmakers and the moderator here today and our audience. I'm in San Francisco and acknowledge this location on the unceded territories of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who along with hundreds of other native tribes have resided in California for thousands of years. Many Ohlone continue to call the Bay Area home, run Cafe Ohlone, and contribute to the cultural mix. So Ethan Payne is a filmmaker and a YouTuber who works in documentary and promotional films, music videos, and he's also a photographer in a number of different genres. FilmFest DC has a link to his website next to his film, which has samples of his many works, but not many words. Josh Johnson, a director of Monument, is a filmmaker, visual effects supervisor, VFX artist, and adjunct college professor, among other things. He's worked on films that have played on numerous festivals and won awards, also on HBO, among many other places, and has worked with, so has Tim Maupin, a number of brands that are recognizable to most people. Tim Maupin is New York City-based director. He's also a visual effects artist and Emmy Award-winning cinematographer. He's also worked as an editor, camera operator, and stereographer, if that's a word, if that's a thing. And has a variety of professional experience behind him, including the same working with clients. Again, I'll urge you to look them up on the website. Our moderator today is Cornelius Moore, the co-director of California Newsreel. It's a 53-year-old film distribution and production company where he's been a staff member since 1981. He's also an independent film curator with regular programs for San Francisco's Museum of the Africa Diaspora. He specializes in films from and about the Black world. So without further talking on my part, please have your conversation.
Thank you, Linda. And welcome to Ethan Payne, filmmaker of We Travel, and Josh Johnson and Tim Maupin, filmmakers of Monument. I thought I'd begin with Ethan and to talk about the, I guess, a performative documentary with words by director, co-director, and words spoken by B. Brian Foster. Notes from his family's past, and Brian was a well-respected writer, storyteller, and academic at the University of Mississippi, where the film actually is set a lot, and self-identified Afrofuturist. So I just wanted to acknowledge that the film takes 4 different periods in 4 acts, 1910, 1953, 1994, 2020. And also, so begin and asking Ethan, how did you and Brian started working together on this project?
Yeah, thank you. What's hilarious about this project, we emailed back and forth for months before we actually met up, and we actually met for the first time when we were shooting scenes out by the lake at sunset that take place. They're used throughout the film, but they take place mostly in the 4th act, I guess you would call it. Mm-hmm. And then we went to dinner, and the first time we'd actually met in person. We were sort of put together through the Southern Foodways Alliance, which is a foodways nonprofit based out of Ole Miss in Oxford, mm-hmm. Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And he sent me the essay months before, and we fleshed out the visuals. We decided, I mean, if you've seen the film, it's mm-hmm. It's an incredibly personal work mm-hmm. for Brian. His cousins, his grandparents, his uncles, the sites that he writes about are all there on film. And we were shooting in the middle of a soybean field, in the middle of a hog pen, and
Mhm.
all over the place. And it was an incredible gift to be able to help him tell his story. And I wish he could be here. He teaches full time at Ole Miss, and he's all over the place. But he sends his love and wishes he could be here.
Well, I've noticed in your work that you've done other shorts on Southern Black culture and history, and you're from the South yourself,
I
or
am,
you?
yes.
Yeah, I know you're based in Atlanta, but that is sort of notable. But the images in the film, I mean, what I'm taking away from it is that you have a variety of images. You have the images from the early parts of post Reconstruction and a very violent and oppressive time with lynching, images, etc., but intermixed with family photos, which to me indicate endurance and survival, but and also kind of and resilience and staying at a place that was kind of maybe dangerous for Black folks for a long time.
Absolutely. And those images were chosen by Brian and I, and the whole idea of it, and what I loved about his sort of Afrofuturist take on it, was using the idea of hog slaughter and hog curing as a way to travel through time, as a way the way that his family prepared and put forward and put aside for the future, because futures were so tenuous, living in the South. And that was at the front of our minds with all the images we chose. And yeah, in his writing, there are subtle references, subtle sort of, the hog slaughter is a metaphor for the lynching, and lynching is a metaphor for hog slaughter in some ways, in his piece. And it's an incredibly dense piece, and was a challenge to it was a gift when we had a conversation where I said, okay, so walk me through your vision for this incredibly personal piece you've written. And it was great freedom when he told me, he's like, people don't have to know exactly what's happening every second. And that was incredible to hear, because we didn't have much of a budget, and thankfully archival materials exist, and we were able to tell his story in a way that he wanted.
Well, it's a gorgeous imagery of the fields and the water and the forest. And I just would say, when I saw the film, it reminded me, because I didn't grow up in the South, but I certainly spent a lot of time, because family members are from there, and so the imagery of the curing houses for the meat. I've been there. I know I have not been involved with the hog killing, but I've been around it. So and the mountain oysters and the peach cobbler, all the references to the food. So so what did you think of the connection between Southern Foodways? How did they get involved with this project?
The Southern Foodways Alliance,
Yes.
the producers, basically.
Yeah.
They've been, I guess they've existed since 1999 was the first year, so over 20 years, and they have always been about preserving the true history of foodways in the South, and its beginnings in communities of enslaved people, and the exploitation of food cultures throughout the history of the South. And so that was they knew Brian was a brilliant guy. He just came out with a book too, which has a similar take on blues in the South, because he's from Jackson, Mississippi, about how something so wonderful and natural and tied to survival can be exploited by colonizers and made into something that it never was. It's just it's a history of people always being stolen from and not being given credit. And that's something that I love about the Southern Foodways Alliance's work in hiring me to make films like this and to put me in contact with incredibly brilliant minds like Brian's.
By the way, the essay that Brian wrote is on the website of the film festival, so people can have access to that. And the final thing I'll mention right now is the last images we see is of the new house, and which symbolize to me a new generation where Brian's the next generation living on existing on the shoulders of the people who came before him, and that's to me also, it's like I've been through that, where I've been to the old home place, and then people are able to build their new house and move forward. And was that part of what you were trying to do with that?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks for saying that. That one of my favorite images in the film is that house where Brian grew up and his mom standing in front of it. And it's a subtle nod. A lot of the images move really fast, so it's hard to figure out who's who. And I don't think you have to know exactly who's who. But it was. I mean, I get emotional seeing it because of. It's the only time that she is represented in the film, and it's towards the end, and it just really, really lands, I think, in a powerful way. The house he grew up in, his mother standing in front of it. And then, of course, what you don't see off screen is that everywhere else where we shot was just right down the street, right around the corner. It's just land that's been passed down through generations.
Well, thank you, Ethan, for a beautiful film. And
thank you so much.
And urge people to watch this film and your other work.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I want to now talk to Josh and Tim of Monument, and just first ask you what the impetus, the genesis of this project was.
Yeah. Feel free to jump in whenever,
Sure.
Tim. So Tim and I have known each other for, I guess, over a decade, and we've always kind of wanted to collaborate on a film together. So we were talking about different ideas, and I had like the seed of the idea for Monument back in like 2014, but it's very different than what's there now. Couldn't think of it, couldn't figure it out like in a short form. I kind of just shelved it, but I kind of brought it up to Tim, and we're both lovers of science, and climate change is very important to us. So I showed him this idea, and we kind of talked about it and explored different ways, and we just really wanted to kind of create something that was a parable on climate change, but not be preachy in any way. And then hopefully just kind of one of those things that, maybe make a few people think after they see it. Whatever they think is fine, but just, kind of one of those things that kind of will hopefully lead to some thoughtful thinking afterwards. And that's kind of where we started. But it's been a long journey, and feel free to jump into.
I think that covers the sort of the impetus, the ground of it. I would say that I mean, we had a bunch of different ideas that I probably don't need to get into, but we were just trying to, Josh had that seed concept, and it's just, it's like what's a simple way that you can communicate this idea to really make people think about it. And I think I would probably venture for both of us that it's important, like, that the emotion comes through in a quick amount of time, which again is kind of tricky. And I feel like the film kind of lands somewhere that sort of feels, I don't know, like Pixar-ish in a way, where it's sort of like, I feel like all ages can kind of get the concept quickly and easily. And so I think that was kind of, something we talked about and just kind of important from ground zero. So
what's the Dream Machine Creative?
That is a company here in New York that they're more of a commercial production company, and I've done some work with them, and they wanted to get in on some films, and so we kind of partnered with them on the equipment and production side. So we were able to get a camera and some gear for pretty cheap. I think it actually might have been free. I don't remember. It's been, as Josh said, it's been a couple of years ago since we shot it. But yeah, they were just kind of a co-producing partner, I would say.
So a great name for a film like this. I just thought it was like, very, very involved in the production. I'll say that I didn't know what the film was about when I saw it, and I was, given that it was, we were first situated in a car, and I had not sure where I was and not familiar with the landscape. And then there was the radio snippet where there was somebody speaking with an English accent, which I saw later was David Attenborough. I thought, well, so therefore, like when people start speaking, they're going to be speaking with British accents. It's, and it's an interracial family, and I was like, where are we, and where, So I'm raising that to say, was that your intention in the beginning, is to say you want people to not know where they were?
Yeah, I think that really was. It kind of takes place in the near future, but again, that could be anything. So yeah, we really didn't want certain things to be giveaways necessarily of where they're at. Say outside of the car or inside of the car, or even necessarily from the radio. Like, of course, you may recognize his voice and stuff, but still, it doesn't really give you a place necessarily of where you might be. So I think generally speaking, that kind of was our intention, to like not like completely set you up. Okay, this is where it's at. This is here. Yeah, we kind of shied away from that, I believe. Tim, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I completely agree. It's more of a feeling of just like roughly the future, and that just kind of helps set up the idea of what could happen and maybe what to avoid and so forth. And yeah, hopefully you kind of walk away with that sense of yeah, you don't know exactly where you are. Clearly you're somewhere, in a Midwest-ish type climate or whatever, but that's maybe about the max you can draw strictly.
Yeah. And then hopefully they kind of leads you to believe, like, well, where exactly are they going? If we're taking, we're starting in this car. And that was kind of, the idea all along.
But the other thing was the casting. I didn't, because it was a black man and a white woman and kids in the back who, may have been his children or grandchildren. I couldn't tell that either. So was that also your intention with the casting to confuse people about where we were?
Yeah. Again, I think it was. That was kind of all along, like just kind of not really trying to give away too much up front, and then hopefully as the film goes on and the car ride goes on, it starts to reveal a little bit more, and hopefully the audience is able to kind of put that stuff together as they watch it. And I think everyone, may come to different conclusions as well at the end of it, and that we think that's perfectly fine. In fact, even great that you can come to a different conclusion at the end.
And the imagery of the tree behind the I guess plexiglass. What would you say the material is? But it being like a museum-like situation. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah, that was kind of the idea. Like it's in a glass dome because it's has kind of its own ventilation system and kind of everything to survive and kind of in the climate that it's in. So yeah.
And as far as the film itself, are you is it in any way connected to the activism around climate change? Are you making it available that way, or was that part of your intention?
Yeah, so at the end of it we have somewhat of a call to action where it points to the UN climate website, excuse me, where you can go take a look, and it sort of invites people to what can you do more. We didn't want to get too on the nose about it with the film because as Josh said, I think we wanted the film to kind of speak as more of my personal belief is I think there's an open question about how much you can change people's minds with the film. I mean, I think I just had a conversation about that with somebody, and I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure there's a lot of research, market research, whatever, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be that way. I think most of the time films, there's probably a small percentage of people that kind of walk away actively thinking they might do something different, and then I think most often though it's probably just this kind of subconscious thing that sort of sits in your brain for a while, and you think about it, you talk about to other people about it and so forth, And so I think our hope is that, this film, any small nudge will just kind of make people think about it, and maybe they'll go to, this site or whatever. And, I think once we get the film, once it's kind of through its festival run, we're talking right now about ways that we can, we certainly want to, put it out there as a film, but we're also trying to think of creative ways where we can use it as a vehicle to kind of point, and be a greater activist towards this movement online, like a bigger online audience. So,
Hey, well, thank you for that. And about yourselves as filmmakers and your orientation, is science fiction an area that you want to focus on as filmmakers?
Yeah, I mean, I would say often a lot of my concepts and ideas do kind of go to the science fiction realm. However, that's not my only focus. I mean, I'm writing a feature now that's coming of age, has nothing to do with science fiction. So, I don't think I'd want to be pigeonholed necessarily in that, but I do love good science fiction films. So yeah, but I feel like just as an artist, I like to live in all those different genres and worlds. Go ahead, Tim.
yeah, I mean, I would say probably mostly do live in science fiction. I never really started out to, for that to be the case or whatever, but it's just, I do have an interest in technology and strong interest in science. And so it's, finding a good marriage there, I think. And I'm also working on a feature that's, I always call it a drama set in the future. The idea of it being science fiction, I think, is kind of puts it into this place where you're looking at like Star Trek or something. But I like to kind of look at how as close as I can, how realistic things might play out in next 20 years or so.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think we'll have your information on the website of the film festival, and the same for Ethan about his work too. Is there? I'll go back to Ethan and ask him what because I didn't neglected to ask him what he's doing now and planning for the future. So here's the opportunity for him to tell us.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm actually was just on a call with Brian again. We're going to do another film this year together, another short, and then I have a bunch. I have 2 or 3 full-length documentaries that are in post-production right now. But lots of shorts this year. Lots of shorts.
Right. Well, thank you all very much. Unless anybody has anything else that they need to tell us before we say goodbye, thank you very much for being involved with Film Fest DC.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.